I once found myself in a situation that highlighted a glaring flaw in my approach to time. It was during the early days of building SpaceX, when resources were tight and every second mattered. I was scheduled to meet with a group of engineers to finalize key design details, a critical step that would determine how soon we could move on to testing. Feeling overwhelmed by a host of other tasks, just by a few minutes, I told myself, those minutes, however, carried consequences I hadn't fully considered. The engineers had prepared meticulously, and some of them had rearranged their own schedules to be there. I watched them glance at their phones and shift in their seats, subtly conveying that my tardiness had thrown off the rhythm of their day. In the grand scheme of rocket development, a few minutes might seem inconsequential, but the energy in that room had changed. There was an undeniable undercurrent of frustration, and I realized that my casual disregard for punctuality had sent a message I never intended to send. By showing up late, I inadvertently signaled that my time was more important than theirs. That moment stung not because they were openly angry, but because I could sense a quiet disappointment. They didn't make a fuss and nobody directly criticized me, but their looks and brief remarks spoke volumes. After that meeting ended, I felt a lingering sense of guilt and tension. Over the next few days, I noticed how the dynamics in our interactions shifted ever so subtly. The trust that I had tried so hard to build seemed to dip a notch, and it made me realize that punctuality was about far more than just being present. It was a symbol of respect, a code that said, "We're in this together, and I value your commitment as much as my own." It dawned on me that even in a startup environment, where chaos is often the norm, being on time could serve as a pillar of stability and mutual respect. The breakthrough moment for me came during a conversation with one of our senior team members who'd been at that meeting. He politely suggested I treat each scheduled appointment point as a binding agreement. He explained that, especially in a company striving to do big things, every individual's contribution is vital and should be treated as such. Hearing this perspective from a respected colleague was the catalyst I needed. I realized that punctuality wasn't just a courtesy, it was a foundational element of teamwork and leadership. At that moment, I made a commitment to regard punctuality with the same seriousness I applied to engineering challenges. I know many of you have faced a similar scenario. Perhaps you've shown up to a meeting where everyone else was already settled, or you've been the one left waiting, wondering why your time wasn't respected. It's an experience that can undermine trust in a relationship, whether it's in a tech startup, a business meeting, or even a personal gathering. You felt a ripple of doubt in your capabilities or a hint of frustration that someone else didn't see you as a priority, regardless of your role, engineer, founder, investor, or meant punctuality is a universal sign of esteem for others. It reminds us that each second of collaborative effort counts, and it can define the culture of any organization. So I propose a new path. One where punctuality becomes an integral part of our Kalev mindset rather than a nice-to-have detail we occasionally remember. When we show up on time, we acknowledge the true worth of everyone involved, including ourselves. In a tech-driven world where speed and agility define success, being punctual might seem like a small gesture. Yet it's precisely these seemingly small gestures that can define an entire company's spirit. Let's treat each minute as a valuable resource, not just for the sake of efficiency, but as a beacon of respect that guides how we collaborate, innovate, and ultimately shape the future. If we hold ourselves accountable for punctuality, we set a tone that resonates through our work, our partnerships, and ultimately our vision. Now let's look deeper into how punctuality can redefine our approach to respect. Efficiency and growth will explore the concept 3 key points that uncover its hidden power. By the end, I hope we'll all walk away with a renewed appreciation for how showing up on time is far from a trivial habit. Instead, it's a crucial pillar that can strengthen the very core of our endeavors and change the way we forge new frontiers. First key point I want to delve into involves discovering the underlying reasons why punctuality matters so deeply in a world where seconds decide success or failure. Think about the last time you were set to meet with a potential investor or client. You might have planned your pitch meticulously, but if you were late, how did that influence the tone of the meeting? Did convey readiness subtly indicate a lack of preparedness? Let's examine this question more thoroughly, as understanding the importance of punctuality is the first step toward making it a non-negotiable part of our professional and personal lives. Have you ever wondered what message you send when you keep someone waiting, especially in an environment that thrives on rapid iterations and quick decisions? That's the opening question I'd like you to hold in your mind as we proceed. Recall a case from a Silicon Valley tech firm where a team of developers was consistently 5 to 10 minutes late for their daily scrums. At first it seemed trivial, given that software development has multiple moving parts and deadlines shift all the time. Yet over a few weeks, the development schedule slipped. Tasks began to overlap in unexpected ways because time was being wasted waiting for people to arrive. Tension grew among the team members. A group that prided itself on innovation and flexibility started to show cracks in morale. This was a case study in how those small, consistent lapses in punctuality add up to bigger productivity issues. When the firm's leadership finally addressed the problem, realized it wasn't just about scolding people for being late. Instead, they recognized that punctuality needed to be framed as a shared commitment. An agreement that each voice at the table is important. The team then set a new standard, acknowledging that being present at the exact start time would not only streamline the workflow, but also validate everyone's contributions. Gradually, the daily scrums became more focused, communication gaps shrank, and deadlines that once seemed doomed were met more consistently. The transformation wasn't about imposing strict rules, but about fostering an environment where each person felt that their contribution was essential, and in turn, they respected their colleague's time. When I analyze punctuality in this context, it goes beyond setting an alarm to avoid tardiness. It touches on the psychological contract between coworkers. Each time you arrive on time, you're telling your colleagues, I value you as much as I value myself. It's a signal of mutual respect, a statement that you won't monopolize their time, and you won't waste your own by having to repeatedly reorient yourself to the conversation. This deep analysis tells us that punctuality enhances not just operational efficiency, but also collective morale. People are more likely to bring their best ideas forward in a meeting where they feel respected from the outset. That sense of mutual respect fuels creativity and lowers stress, because everyone understands that their presence and input are genuinely wanted. How then do we translate this realization into practical solutions? One avenue is to build punctuality into the very fabric of our schedules. Instead of stacking meetings back to back, we include buffer times that acknowledge the realities of a busy day. Another practical approach is adopting reliable communication tools that ensure all participants receive timely updates if a schedule changes. We live in an age where technology can act as a powerful ally. Calendar apps and alert systems can help us stay aware of upcoming commitments. Moreover, leaders can foster a culture where punctuality is celebrated. Instead of rebuking those who are late, highlight those who consistently show up on time, illustrating how the respect for the collective schedule elevates the group. This positive reinforcement encourages everyone to think of punctuality as a shared standard rather than imposition. Ultimately, the breakthrough conclusion here is that punctuality serves as a kind of social glue. It keeps teams aligned, fosters trust, and leaves little room for misunderstandings. When we consistently show up, when we say we create an environment where synergy and collaboration happen far more naturally. Respect for time is the baseline for respect in every dimension. Once said a wise man of mine, and those words are worth remembering because they capture how being on time threads through every other aspect of teamwork and mutual appreciation. Let's transition to a second angle on this topic by stepping into a storytelling mode. You might wonder why punctuality, which seems almost mundane, can be so pivotal in shaping outcomes that matter. Let me share a story that encapsulates the essence, how being on time can literally alter the trajectory of someone's entire career. There was a bright software engineer named Clara who dreamed of joining a well-known tech startup on the cusp of going public. She was a genius when it came to coding, track record of building elegant solutions under pressing deadlines. When she finally got the call for an in-person interview, she prepared day and night. She rehearsed her technical challenges, practiced answering tricky behavioral questions, and even studied the company culture. On the morning of the big interview, she ran into a small but critical error. Her car wouldn't start. She panicked. Realizing the clock was ticking, she rushed to find an alternate route, calling a rideshare service. On the way, she found herself stuck in heavier traffic than usual. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, and she could almost see her opportunity slipping away. Yet Clara remained calm, used the time to review her notes on her phone, and managed to arrive at the office just in time, breathless but punctual. The situation developed in a memorable way. The hiring manager, a meticulous observer, noticed that Clara was right on time. She asked if Clara had any trouble getting there, and Clara, still catching her breath, admitted that her morning had been chaotic. The manager smiled, acknowledging that in the unpredictable world of technology, challenges come unannounced. She appreciated that Clara had managed to be punctual despite the circumstances. This hiring manager later revealed that she often uses applicants' punctuality as a real-world indicator of problem-solving and commitment. If you can handle the small fires that happen in everyday life and still honor your commitments, it's a sign you'll likely manage well in high-pressure scenarios at work. By the end of the interview, received glowing feedback not only for her technical prowess, but also for her resilience and respect for other people's schedules. She got the job offer that very week. The challenges and solutions in Clara's story highlight an important truth about punctuality. In an industry that thrives on unpredictable shifts, new software releases, sudden bugs, shifting client demands, your ability to show up on time, mentally prepared and respectful of others can give you a competitive edge. Clara can easily let the inconvenience of a broken down car serve as an excuse. She could have arrived late and apologized profusely. Instead, she treated punctuality as a priority. She pivoted her travel plans without hesitation and showed the hiring team that unforeseen hurdles wouldn't stop her. This approach is reminiscent of how we tackle bigger challenges in startups. If you can't handle small disruptions in your day, how can you handle the large pivots that inevitably arise when building something groundbreaking? The lessons learned from this story is that punctuality isn't just about courtesy. It's also a measure of a person's ability to adapt under pressure. When you walk into a meeting exactly on time, you broadcast that you're unflappable, dependable, and in control of the variables life throws at you. People gravitate toward those who demonstrate that sense of reliability. Investors, teammates, and collaborators all want to be around individuals who can navigate the unexpected while still meeting their obligations. When you respect the clock, you're essentially showing your capacity to respect the unexpected moments that define the startup world. I want to connect this back to you, the listener or reader, because I know each of us has faced life's curveballs. Sometimes it's a traffic jam, sometimes it's a last-minute childcare issue, and sometimes it's an urgent product fix that can't be ignored. How we handle these moments often defines how others perceive our professional identity. By committing to punctuality, you're not suggesting you'll never encounter obstacles. Rather, you're pledging to manage those obstacles without letting them erode your respect for other people's time. This story is an invitation to see punctuality as a powerful statement of competence, resilience, and empathy. As Henry Ford once said in precisely 20 words, "Coming together is the beginning, staying together is progress, and showing up on time keeps us moving forward." Now I'd like to shift our focus once more, using an analysis approach to explore how punctuality ties into broader trends, research, and future implications. It might seem like a small behavioral trait, but data suggests otherwise. According to surveys conducted among fast-growing startups, teams that consistently start meetings on time report a 15% increase in perceived productivity, along with a measurable boost in morale. This might seem minor at first glance, but over the course of months and years, that a 5% edge can translate into product releases that beat competitors to market and investment deals that secure critical funding earlier. Numbers from a range of industries reveal a similar correlation where punctuality is highly valued, project overruns decrease, employee burnout is less frequent, and internal communication improves. Important to note that these statistics don't imply that punctuality is the only factor in a company's success, but they do highlight a compelling pattern. Where remote work and global teams have become increasingly common, establishing a culture of timeliness can unify people who never share a physical workspace. When we turn to market trends, we see that many of most admired companies, whether in technology, finance, or consumer goods, pride themselves on efficiency and respect for the customer's experience. Think about the last time you used a popular rideshare app or a food delivery service. The entire value proposition hinges on things arriving quickly and on schedule. That's a form of punctuality embedded in the business model. As consumer expectations rise, so do the internal pressures on teams to adhere to schedules that meet or exceed those expectations. Timeliness becomes an operational necessity that influences brand reputation. If a rideshare driver shows up late consistently, you switch to a competitor. Similarly, if a meeting with a potential partner is delayed repeatedly, you might start to question that partner's reliability. Rewards those master punctuality, both outwardly in delivering services and inwardly in shaping collaborative cultures. In-depth research backs up the psychological impact of feeling respected through punctuality. Neuroscientists have discussed how human brains are wired to interpret consistent timeliness as a sign of reliability. When someone shows up exactly when they say they will, it triggers a sense of certainty in the relationship. Certainty is a key factor in building trust, and trust is the linchpin of effective teamwork. This chain reaction extends to problem solving as well. When a team trusts each other implicitly, they spend less time second-guessing motives and more time innovating. Conversely, habitual lateness can sow seeds of doubt. Once doubt becomes systemic, it's much harder to maintain the enthusiastic, future-focused energy that startups thrive on. In short, punctuality doesn't just streamline the surface level interactions, it strengthens the underlying bonds that hold a team together. Practically speaking, we apply these insights today. One direct application is to schedule strategic touch throughout the week. Short, on-time check, and keep everyone aligned. This ensures that no single meeting drags on longer than necessary. Another way is to adopt communication norms that state if a meeting can't be started punctually, it should be rescheduled or canceled. Rather leaving people in limbo, this kind of direct, transparent approach might feel strict initially, but it sets a precedent that people come to respect. Culture that refuses to waste time ironically ends up with more space for creativity. Instead of lingering in waiting rooms, real or virtual, people are engaged in discussions that matter Over the longer term, this fosters an environment where punctuality is seen as a shared ethic, not just a rule. It also means that technology, from shared calendars to project management tools, can be leveraged more efficiently. Automated notifications and synchronized time zones become allies rather than just another layer of complexity. Looking ahead, it's reasonable to predict that punctuality will gain even more importance as remote teams become the norm. We'll rely heavily on digital platforms to unite people scattered across different continents. A single delayed login can disrupt an entire sprint review or a product demo. Investors and customers alike will grow increasingly intolerant to disorganized teams, especially in a fast-paced global economy. In the future, we might even see advanced AI systems that optimize scheduling for entire organizations, reducing friction points where lateness can occur. Yet none of that technology will replace the foundational attitude we must hold. Showing respect to others by being present and prepared exactly when we promise to be. Technology can facilitate, but the commitment to punctuality remains a choice to honor the people who work alongside us. As Mahatma Gandhi famously wrote in 19 words, action expresses priorities, and punctuality is one of the clearest actions that proves where our priorities truly lie. Now that we've explored why punctuality matters, seen its effects through a personal story, and analyzed the broader implications through data and research, it's time to look toward the future in more cohesive sense. I see a world where timeliness becomes a hallmark of not just professionalism, but personal integrity. In that world, being on time isn't a mere courtesy or a footnote in a meeting invite. It's a reflection of how seriously we take our mission. Entrepreneurs who embed punctuality into their startup's DNA will find it easier to build cohesive teams. Investors will gravitate toward founders who show they can manage both big picture visions and the finer details, like starting a call precisely when scheduled. And employees who respect each other's time will cultivate an environment of mutual admiration and collective success. It's our shared opportunity to transform the way we approach collaboration. If we commit to punctuality, we're effectively making a statement that every moment in our joint endeavor counts. The statement is this not restricted to business, of course. Echoes through personal relationships, volunteer work, and community efforts. The same principle applies if I promise to meet you at a certain time and place. I'm holding up my end of a relationship built on trust. This stands at the heart of all successful human interactions, especially in sectors where rapid progress is paramount. We can't afford to be cavalier about something as foundational as time. The world is full of brilliant ideas, many of which never materialize due to a lack of cohesion among the people trying to bring them to life. Punctuality is one of the simplest ways to build that cohesion. When we start meetings on time, set an example for every person involved. We invite them to see themselves as vital contributors whose presence is anticipated and valued. This fosters an emotional investment that often translates into extraordinary achievements precisely because no one feels overlooked or sidelined. They feel part of a team that respects one another down to the minute. That sense of respect can create an unbreakable bond, propelling us forward even when circumstances are challenging. What does the future look like if we adopt this perspective wholeheartedly? If enough of us commit to seeing punctuality as an extension of our shared respect, we might rewrite cultural norms in workplaces around the world. Imagine remote teams that operate seamlessly across a dozen time zones because everyone commits to the same standard of timeliness. Picture conferences that run like clockwork. For deeper dives into the content rather than logistical juggling, envision a generation of entrepreneurs who see punctuality as non-negotiable, thereby attracting talent and investment with a track record of reliability. It might sound idealistic, but the seeds of that future are already visible in companies and communities that have decided to place a premium on respecting each other's time. With these insights, I encourage each of you to challenge yourselves. If punctuality has ever been an afterthought, let this be the moment you decide to treat it as central to your philosophy of work and life. Set alarms that give you enough buffer to be early rather than on the dot. Use scheduling apps that keep you honest. Communicate openly with colleagues about the importance of starting on time and finishing on time. Create shared accountability by inviting others to let you know if you're slipping. This is how cultures evolve, through countless small decisions that reflect our overarching values. My own experiences, from the day I arrived late to that critical SpaceX meeting, have shown me that no visionary idea can compensate for the erosion of trust that comes from disrespecting people's time. When you turn punctuality to a cornerstone of how you operate, it amplifies everything else you do. It helps you form teams that feel connected, fosters an environment where creativity flourishes, and paves the way for success that feels genuinely collaborative. Looking ahead, I invite you to see punctuality not as a chore, but as an empowering choice. Let's hold each other at standard so we can move closer to the incredible future we're all aiming to build. There's a horizon filled with complex challenges, climate change, resource constraints, and the ongoing quest to expand humanity's presence beyond Earth. If we can't manage something as straightforward as arriving on time, how we manage the monumental tasks that lie ahead. Grounding ourselves in a commitment to respect each other's minutes, we set the stage for tackling the big, audacious goals. In the end, every second we share is an opportunity to propel our collective vision forward, and none of us can afford to waste that opportunity. Now, as we move into the final part of this conversation, I'd like to bring us full circle to a future vision that rests on the pillars we've discussed. Imagine a landscape where startups aren't just known for their disruptive products or massive valuations, but for cultures that deeply respect the clock. In that world, leaders don't merely talk about innovation. They exemplify it by consistently honoring their commitments, including the most fundamental commitment of being present when expected. Punctuality becomes the unspoken agreement that underpins trust, reliability, and success. Integrating it so thoroughly into our daily operations, we spark a chain reaction, employee valued, clients feel prioritized, and entire industries run more smoothly. Yet this isn't a future that arrives automatically. There's a challenge here, and it's one each of us must confront daily. We live in a busy age flooded with digital notifications, endless responsibilities, and a barrage of distractions. Making punctuality a priority demands discipline and sometimes forces difficult choices. You might have to end a prior meeting sooner than you'd like or decline an invitation that risks creating a scheduling conflict. This is where commitment is tested. If we're serious about punctuality, we accept that we won't be able to do everything. Instead, we choose to do the most important things well, and that begins by showing up on time to do them. Adopting this stance might require you to retrain your habits. It may mean reconfiguring how your team handles daily stand-ups, or how you manage client calls across different time zones. The result, however, is worth the investment. The reward is a brand of trust that can't be replicated by mere promises. It's trust proven through consistent action. I realize this can feel like a solitary battle if you're the only one championing punctuality in a group. That's why the support of your peers, your leadership is critical. If you're in a position of influence, be it a team lead, a manager, or a founder, you have the power to set the tone. Demonstrate your commitment by being the first one to arrive prepared before a meeting's official start time. A leader's example speaks louder than any written policy. In so doing, you provide a model for others to follow, showing that being on time is not about rigid formality, but about teamwork and collective respect. If you're not in a leadership position, still advocate for punctuality by gently reminding peers of agreed upon start times and celebrating those moments when things run smoothly because everyone respected each other's time. Let those around you know that you appreciate their effort to be prompt. Gratitude goes a long way in reinforcing positive change. Over time, you'll find more allies joining your cause. Once we collectively commit to this new standard, we start to see tangible transformations. Meetings become more dynamic because participants are ready to dive right into substantive discussions. Let's run closer to schedule because the baseline respect for each person's contributions, small but cumulative delays. Even casual conversations between colleagues can feel more purposeful and less rushed. No one is constantly apologizing for running late. The intangible benefit is the morale boost, the sense of shared camaraderie that emerges when people align on even the smallest of behaviors. This synergy can set off a ripple effect, motivating teams to tackle larger tasks with greater coordination. All of this builds toward a final, inspiring close. Potential for growth personal in your professional life expands significantly when you embrace punctuality. Each timely arrival adds to your reputation as someone who respects the value of collaboration. Every on-time meeting sets a tone of efficiency and shared responsibility. Over weeks and months, these moments accumulate in a culture of reliability and forward momentum. The real thrill comes when you look back and see how far you've come, how much trust you've built, and how your network has strengthened around the principle of being there when you say you will. That's when you realize punctuality is not a constraint, but incredible liberation. It frees you from the chaos of constant rescheduling, from the friction of mistrust, and from the self-imposed stress of always running behind. I stand before you with the conviction that showing up on is one of the most powerful, underrated ways to demonstrate respect for every individual you interact with. It's a gesture that says, your time is as valuable as mine. While technology may advance at breakneck speed and industries rise and fall, this fundamental act of respect remains timeless. If we can get punctuality right, create the foundation upon which all other successes are built. And so I challenge each of you to make that commitment to transform not just how you schedule your day, but how you value every person who shares the day with you. In doing so, you set a precedent for excellence that resonates far beyond the clock's ticking hands, reaching into the heart of what it means to truly collaborate and achieve. Let's respect each other's time, trust, and aim for achievements that would be impossible if we overlook this simple yet profound principle. I'm excited to see what we can accomplish together, one on-time arrival at a time.